It's time for another installment of What Did I Put in My Messy Sketchbook? So this sketchbook is one I was working on between May of this year and July of this year. And also, while I talk about my messy sketchbooks, I just want to mention that when I say messy, I mean everything that I put in these sketchbooks that you guys always see me working in. The good, the bad, the unfinished, the interesting, and some things that I don't absolutely love. So for example, I was playing with some different birds. This I do like. It's not quite exactly how I want it to be, but it has potential. This, on the other hand, it's not what I was thinking. Also, these ladies, while this was a fun idea to actually explore, I don't know. My whole goal when I show off my sketchbooks is that I often think that there are just so many examples of these perfect sketchbooks, or ones that are done in a themed way where the sketchbook itself is meant to be a piece of art, and I want to show an alternate version of how to use a sketchbook where you're using it in a more practical way. And what I mean by practical way is just that you can use it for all sorts of things, little experiments. You can actually use it to work out different ideas. You can see how many different times I tried different peonies with different brushes and things in order to actually figure out how I wanted to paint them before I showed you guys a tutorial. In other instances, you can see some of the areas where I was just working on some ideas. This is actually the original one of those daisies that I painted when I came up with the idea for that tutorial. There are things in here that I love. There are things in here that I didn't ever complete. There are things in here that I really love. There's all sorts of different ways to fill a sketchbook, and I tend to fill mine with all sorts of things. Everything from experiments to trying things to failing at things, having the beginnings of an idea that seems to have promise, but it's just not quite yet worked out. Eventually I want to paint some of these little dinosaurs. I think they're really cute. And I even sometimes put little notes into myself. Like, right on this day, I had no idea what to paint. I felt like I had never painted anything before. Sometimes I put my little plans in here. Other times I sketch. Sometimes I put tutorials in here, or my own pieces. Sometimes I even put my notes and things that happen during my live classes that I teach right in my sketchbook. And sometimes I sit on the couch and make very silly things. I think the real key here is that there is no one way to use a sketchbook. So if you feel like you can't start one because you're going to do it wrong, there's not a wrong way to do this. People often tell me that they're afraid to start one because they're going to do something wrong and it's not going to turn out how they want. And my sketchbook is filled with things that just did not quite go the way that I wanted them to go. Just like this, or this flower that I completely abandoned, or some of these experiments that ultimately at that time led nowhere. However you decide to use your sketchbook is the perfect way to use it, and it's okay for it to have things in it that are not completely perfect.